In today's video, I want to tell you all about a super easy homemade bread recipe. Now, let me preface this by saying that I am not a baking expert. I am not somebody who makes artisan bread and is just really fancy pants and foodie. So basically I'm saying if I can do this, you can do this. Every time I have tried to make homemade bread in the past, something weird happens. It doesn't rise, or it falls, or it's gummy, or it tastes strange. This is really the first recipe and the first method that I've come across that has worked, and it's not stressful. You don't have to, the planets don't have to align for your bread to turn out. And so I wanted to share that with you today. There is a link in the description box below to a full blog post. So photos, the recipe, everything that you need to know. So I will link that below. Credit where credit is due. This bread recipe came from a book called Artisan Bread in 5 Minutes a Day. I will insert a photo so you can see it. My copy is pretty beat up and it's missing the dust jacket, so it's been well loved. But this book really has been the key for me to understand how to make bread, homemade bread that turns out and that is really delicious. So definitely check that book out, and I will link that in the description box below as well. But what you're going to do basically for this bread recipe, you're going to start with 3 cups of lukewarm water, and then to that you are going to add 1.5 tablespoons of salt and 1.5 tablespoons of yeast, and you're going to mix those 3 ingredients together. It doesn't have to dissolve, it doesn't have to, do anything special, spectacular. You just need to mix it together, and then I dump it into my stand mixer and attach my dough hook. You can mix the bread dough by hand. It is a little bit harder to mix, but you can definitely mix it by hand if you don't have a stand mixer. But I throw it into my stand mixer, and then I add 6.5 cups of flour, turn it on, let the mixer do all the work, and I mix it until the dough kind of binds together into kind of one lump. And then I pull it off the mixer, throw some saran wrap over it, and put it in the microwave to rise for about 2 hours. Now, I don't turn on the microwave, obviously. I have little kids. The microwave is just a place where I know it's not going to be disturbed and it can rise in peace. Once it has risen basically to the top of the bowl, I know that it's good to go. And then you can use the dough right away, or you can put it in the fridge and store it. If you put it in the fridge and store it, it's probably good for about a week to a week and a half, I would say. Basically, when I'm gonna make a sandwich loaf like what I'm telling you about today, I pull off about half of the dough that I have made, sprinkle some flour on to make sure it doesn't stick, shape that ball of dough into a kind of an oblong shape. The dough that's on top, stretch it around to the back to kind of make a smooth surface, and then I put that in a greased loaf pan. There's no kneading necessary with this bread, which is what makes it so amazing. Take it, shape it, let it rise, and you're good to go. So that really sold me on this bread. Once you put it into the loaf pan, I put it into an 8x4 loaf pan. You could probably use a 9x5 as well. And I let it just set on top of my stove for, if it's unrefrigerated dough, it's about, I would say 45 minutes. If it's been sitting in the fridge and you pull it out, I would let it sit for about an hour and a half. So you let that rise until it looks nice and ready to put in the oven. I put it into a 450-degree oven. Now, before I put it in there, and this is the magical trick to this bread, I take a broiler pan, put it on the lower rack of the oven, and pour in 1 cup of water. Now, the oven is already preheated at this stage, so when you pour that water into the broiler pan, it'll steam and sizzle. And then I quickly slide my loaf pan onto the top rack of the oven, shut the oven door as quickly as possible to trap as much steam in there as I can. That steam is what makes the bread so moist and delicious. So the broiler pan goes in, the cup of water goes in, the loaf pan goes in, 450 degrees. In my oven, I bake it for 35 minutes. And then once the timer goes off, you pull it out, it's ready to go. This really is super easy bread. So that's it. That's the recipe. That's the method. I have a link below to the full blog post, and then I also have linked in the description box below Artisan Bread in 5 Minutes a Day, which has tons of wonderful recipes, and I will be doing more on this channel in the future, some of the different recipes that are in there, but this is a great basic one to get you going, and I hope that you enjoy it. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I make videos on this channel about decluttering, organizing, and creating beauty in your home on a budget. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.